All right, guys, we are live with the Black Wolf Paranormal team. We have Todd and Leanne, we have Beth Allen, and then we have Cindy. Um, they're all members, of course, of the Black Wolf Paranormal. Where'd you guys get the name from, if you don't mind me asking? I was just curious about that first of all.
I kind of always related myself to a wolf, and
Okay,
we were all together in another location and became a tight knit family. So we just started calling ourselves a pack. And then
okay,
one day we were sitting there talking, and I just came up with the Black Wolf,
okay,
and Cindy and Leanne and Beth came up with the logo, and it's kind of took off from there.
okay. Yeah, yeah. I like the Black Wolf Paranormal. The wolf is my favorite animal, and I always feel like that's my spirit animal. So I
Yep.
liked it when I saw that.
And that's mine. I mean, I'm tattooed with wolves, so
Are you really? Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been looking at tattoos actually on like on Pinterest of wolves and stuff, trying to see
Right.
what get some ideas. Uh, Sheila Brown is on. She's saying hi guys. Hey, my family.
Hey,
Hey,
Sheila is
Sheila.
Sheila.
the pack.
Oh, that's cool.
Hey, Sheila.
She is one of
Um,
our members.
okay, cool. So let's start off talking about to with Todd and Leanne first. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and what got you actually into the paranormal field.
Well, for me, growing up, I was always into the odd things out there, the paranormal, cryptics, ufology. Uh, got away from it for a while, and then after so many years of marriage, she decided that she wanted to get into the paranormal, and we've been going hard and strong in the paranormal field for about 8 years now. But as growing up, I've always had a thing for the unexplainable.
Yeah, a lot of times, we would go into locations and try to, we were really skeptics in trying to debunk stuff. And we really started enjoying just going to different locations and visiting historic homes. Um, we were getting, crazy activity, getting EVPs, and it just
Disembodied voices.
disembodied voices, and we just got hooked, really. And we've been doing it ever since.
Okay, cool. Beth.
This has been an ongoing thing for me since childhood. I was quite aware that I was seeing and hearing things that others weren't. Um, I was very fortunate. My mom never told me, that's not happening. Stop making things up. And my grandmothers were librarians and readers, so I've always been surrounded by books. So history, you got to know you can't have one without the other. The paranormal and history go hand in hand.
Right.
So I started reading every little book I could get my hands on, even weird stuff that made no sense to anyone else. They're like, wait, you're 10 and this is for someone in college. I'm like, it is what it is. So I just kind of took it from there. I've been doing investigations since I was 15, roughly. Who doesn't love to skip school and go on a paranormal investigation? But
Yeah, there you go.
I don't advise that, children.
Yeah, you know what's funny? You talked about you getting books at a young age. I remember checking out books too, and they were like the type of books that had like the UFOs, paranormal, Bigfoot,
Yeah.
all in one stuff. And even remember there was a section on human combustion. I remember that there was a section on that.
You know what? Now that you bring that up, that was out there a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
Now that I
that's
think
pretty
about it.
fun. And what about you, Cindy?
I started probably when I was about 7. I started seeing spirits around my house and kind of noticed that there was another realm that I was delving into. And then went on through my life, got up to about the age of 17 and started going to local places, cemeteries, haunted buildings, and investigating. And then started going to locations and got into the whole history and the architecture of the old buildings. And got my first EVP and disembodied voice and saw my first full body apparition, and it was on like Donkey Kong from then. I've never looked back.
So what was that like when you got your first, validation for you, Cindy?
Oh, I was hooked. I was amazed. I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy for one. And I just knew that that was my passion and that I would carry that on throughout my life, and I've never looked back.
Todd and Leanne, what about you guys? What was your first validation, and what was that like for you guys?
Validation.
I think ours is when we went to a local hotel, doing a EVP session, and I actually got some little kids talking, and it blew my mind to think, what is this, and I wanted to get, more validation, and so we went back and we got a full body apparition.
It was a full shadow in a area across the street from the area we were there to investigate, and it was a huge shadow figure.
Okay.
I thought I was playing tricks on my mind or whatever. I was seeing things. Got in the truck one day and was driving to the office, and one of the radio shows that I listened to, that group had been out to that location and caught a photo in the doorway of the building that we were investigating and saw the shadow, and it was the exact same shadow that I saw, and it's like validation, got the cold chills, hair on your arm standing up, the whole thing. So I mean that was one, and then the first actual full body apparition that I saw, I thought at first that I was losing my mind because I was the only one there and didn't have anybody to share it with. But after talking to other people and hearing their experiences in that same location, everything started to add up, that we were all seeing the same thing, just in a different way.
Okay. And so given your profession, Todd, I know it's up to you whether you want to mention it or not, but given your profession, how did that affect you, the way your mind works and what you were seeing and how you were processing that?
For the most part, I've got an engineering background. So I can pretty much debunk, like I said, 80 to 85% of what we think is paranormal, to various different things, temperature changes, sounds that water makes going through a pipe, the little odd and end stuff. But there's that 15%. And like I said, that number keeps growing day by day the longer I do this, of things that I can't explain.
Right.
It's a challenging part of the paranormal for me.
Okay. And Beth, what about you? What was like your first validation or for you, or that made you say, okay, there's something out there?
It was more or less my son's experience. I've kind of, always believed.
Right.
But my son had an experience where he was actually physically pushed. And I had not been, to that point. I'd seen things, heard things. But with his experience, it kind of forced me out there a little bit more to want to know how that was happening. Like, how could something actually touch you? And then when you think back, you're like, wait a minute. I've been touched. I've had these experiences, but sometimes it takes someone else to make you look back at yourself and what you've experienced.
Okay. And what is Sheila talking about? The puck light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before Sheila joined our team, her and another lady by the name of Sheila, we call them the Sheilas.
And they're both with us.
They are actually key team members now, but they are also Southern Paranormal.
Okay.
We were at a location, and Leanne and I were hosting Southern Paranormal, and they brought in a puck light, and this puck light you actually have to physically push the light down for it to come on. I mean, it takes force to get it to come on. But we had it set up in a station at the building we were at, and we were doing other investigative stuff, and we come back and the light was on. So we went through kind of a session and said, okay, can you turn the light off? So a few minutes go by and the light goes off. So we're all kind of in awe by this phenomena going on. And we got into a session that went on for, felt like forever, but
it was probably an hour, a full hour of this light turning off and on
command.
Yes.
Wow.
And later I took that light, you know, like I said, doing the whole reverse engineering thing. I took it apart, looked at it, tried to, I mean, I shook it, I threw it up against the wall. I did everything I possibly could to get this light to come on by itself, and there was nothing that I could do. Took the batteries out, checked different battery configurations, and there was nothing that we could do. And well, that was the first time we had that experience, and we had tried it several times since then and got nothing. But we went to another location up in Franklin, Kentucky, as Black Wolf Paranormal, and as we were there, set the light out, just to see if we would get any interaction. And next thing you know, it's going on and off at that location on command.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That's one of the things I want to add to this team. Like Beth hit, we're made up of a lot of different teams, and our strengths and everything come from each other.
Yeah.
We rely on each other a lot for the investigations that we do. I hate it that our whole team couldn't be on here, but I understand the format, because I know, like the Sheilas, they have a lot to offer to the paranormal.
Yeah.
I mean, they're great investigators. Beth, I mean, she's awesome. She's over the top. She's kind of our bouncer.
A little bit.
Cindy, she's our energy source. She's a fireball. I mean,
Yeah.
if you see her on an investigation, you might see her in one spot for a second, and the next second she's somewhere else. I mean, she's just full of energy. Leanne, she's our light. She keeps us all grounded. Tall Sheila, how we refer to her, she's kind of another light for us. She's kind of one of our spiritual leaders. Her and Nikki.
She's our mama.
Yeah.
And little Sheila is she's our resident Marine.
Hoorah!
Oh, okay.
And she is,
Well, my son's a Marine, so thank you, little Sheila.
Yes.
she is one of the most awesome people you could ever meet. She will break you in half with her hugs.
Yeah.
And she keeps me grounded. She keeps my head in the game.
And then Nikki's our hugger. She's always got a hug.
Yeah.
Nikki's our resident hugger, and she's coming into her strengths as we go. She tells me that I don't admit a lot of stuff, but she's one that doesn't really admit it either. But she's coming along, and she's a great asset to the team. Steven, Cindy's husband, he is.
He's new to this.
Yeah, he's kind of our noob to the paranormal world. He kind of sits back and looks at us. He sits back and looks at us and shakes his head and wonders what he's gotten himself into. Yeah, he gets the big eye look.
He really does.
Yeah.
And he definitely keeps us honest in what we do, and and he is also, along with myself, the comic relief for the group. So
Yeah.
and then
He's very skeptical as well. He's got to see it with his own eyes, and I mean, he's a very spiritual, religious man.
Right.
So he came along because, of course, he met me and we got married and everything, and I was in the paranormal world, and he had experiences prior, and he was interested in what I do. So, of course, he came along, and he's seen things that he can't explain, and I mean, he is very much a truth seeker, but he doesn't see and experience things as much as we do, but he still has those experiences, that 15% that he's like, okay.
And then I guess the last two would be my son and his girlfriend.
There are young
Yeah,
investigators.
Our Cubs.
They're the investigative Cubs. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Haley, she's brand new to this, and she's been under the tutelage of Beth and Cindy and Leanne of kind of bringing her through. She has the oh my gosh moments and what's going on moments, and
Did I just see that moment? Yeah.
Yeah, she gets a little scared from time to time, but that's to be expected.
Yeah.
My son, Zachary, he is the psych major. So he keeps us all
grounded
mentally. He has a very interesting outlook on the way things transpire. He will kind of automatically go to the science end of it through the what do you call it, the mental aspect of how things affect your mind and body, and he has a very, very broad outlook on that stuff, and actually makes a lot of sense when he tries to bring us back to reality. But that's kind of the team in a nutshell. Like I said, we all play off of each other. And we're kind of meant to be, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that how you guys found each other? Was through the paranormal field?
Yes.
Yes.
We all met in the paranormal field at a particular location. I think at first it was Leanne and I met Cindy. Then we met the Sheilas, and then Beth came along, and then Stephen came along, and we all became one big happy family. And like I said, from there I think we toyed around with a couple other names for a team, and then we settled on we started with the Wolf Pack, and then it just kind of went from there to the Black Wolf Paranormal.
That's pretty cool, man. I like that story. I think me coming from the Bigfoot community, I've met friends, and I have friends now that, I mean, they'll be friends for the rest of my life, And if it wasn't for Bigfoot, I would have never met them. You know what I'm saying? And
I mean, that's like, I mean, throughout the whole paranormal community, we've got groups, other teams that we care about just as much, and that we consider just as much family.
Right.
We've got teams around here, Pac-Man Paranormal, Ernie and Denise. They're family.
Ernie is actually in right now. Hey, Ernie.
Ernie.
Hey, Ernie.
We've got the Black Sheep Paranormal, Wes Neal and his team. I mean, they're great people.
The Black Sheep and the Black Wolf.
Yeah.
Black Sheep and the Black Wolf. We got the Night Stalkers. Billy Sims and Tanya and Bear and those guys.
Yeah.
We've got Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, who we actually did an investigation with last night at the Lotes house here in Tennessee. And I'm sure I'm leaving some off, but I mean, that's one of the key things that we're about, is the para-unity.
Yes.
And it the paranormal is not a competition.
Right.
We can all learn different things from different people. We went to a small para-unity conference and met some of these people. The Elite Vixens are another team.
Yes.
It's an all women's team. We learn a lot from them. The location that we used to volunteer at, we met a huge amount of teams and got to learn a lot of things in the paranormal, is how to investigate, and we learned some of the things of how not to investigate.
Right.
So in having this para-unity and being able to call Ernie up or call Wes up or Denise or any of these other teams up and say, hey, I've got this piece of evidence. Can you talk me off the ledge? Am I losing my mind? What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Because like with the cryptics and the Bigfoot stuff, you can't just go into your office one day and talk to the guy in the next cube to you and say, "Hey, I went out watching today, and this is what I found." Without them looking at you like you're crazy.
Right.
So, so we've got a network now that we all work together, and we can call somebody at a drop of a hat. And, we can, for example, I'm probably going on too long, but for example, we were up at a location up in Indiana, and Pac-Man Paranormal was at a location in Tennessee. So I got Denise and Ernie on the phone and asked them to do an experiment with me. And we ran necrophonics and had them over the phone ask questions. So as they were asking questions and getting responses to the necrophonics app, the responses were spot on to the point to where it gave their names first, and then they asked, "Okay, do you know where we're at?" So the necrophonics app in Indiana did Lote's house. And that's where they were at. And then they said, well, they asked, are we talking to a spirit, or an energy from your location or from our location? And it told them which was the location that we were at. And it was the responses going back and forth and doing those experiments like that. I mean, that's part of that network. Right. I mean, to where we can call these guys up and say, "Hey, can we try this? If you got a minute?" And we all jump at that opportunity.
Right. So. Yeah. That's something that I really can appreciate, because if I hear something and I've got it on recording out in the woods, I know a couple of guys I can send it to right away, and they'll tell me, "No, that's this was this animal. This animal actually makes this kind of noise." Okay, and they can help me out with that, because animals make some weird noises, man.
Yes, they do.
Fox and bobcats, strange noises. Even owls make some strange noises. Yeah. And so it's nice to have that network, and
I haven't figured out the animal that can throw rocks at you.
Right, rocks and sticks.
So my first squatching experience, I had a rock thrown at me.
Oh, really? Okay. Let's see this.
I think it was Cindy, but I'm pretty sure it was me.
She was trying to hit you. Yeah.
I was sitting right beside your wife, dude. It was not me. Right. We heard the rock flying through the trees, and we go, what was that?
I actually think that sometimes there is actually paranormal activity out in the woods. A lot more than what people think. So who knows?
We saw that.
Yes.
Yeah, people report seeing orbs. When they're out doing their, recording, they'll hear voices on their recorders, and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of paranormal activity that goes out in the woods. You don't know the history of some of these places anyway. So, who knows what happened there? I'm sure some horrible stuff happened,
On our Squatch trip, we actually had paranormal equipment with us, and had the REM pod going off, sitting in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was amazing. Flashlight activity. It was very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had I wasn't there, but some of my friends were. They were out with their group, and one of the guys showed up with a spirit box, and it was going off. And my other buddy told me, "You got to turn that off." It was freaking him out because you got to turn that off. But so what are some of your places that you guys have investigated together that you enjoy going to and had some good results?
Well, with this group, we enjoy anywhere we go as a group. We could go investigate the shack down at the bottom of the hill, and we would have a grand old time.
Yeah.
There's been so many places that we've been, and so many places that we want to go. As a complete team, we've only had a couple of places that we've been as a complete team.
I would say Monroe. Monroe.
Yeah, Monroe.
Monroe House was an awesome trip for us. It's different everywhere we go. in Rosemont here in Gallatin, we've investigated there a couple of times, and it's always something different.
Yeah.
We've investigated Octagon Hall.
I would say Octagon would be my favorite.
It was awesome. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, between Sheila and Denise and Ernie, you guys are getting a lot of love. I'll tell you that much. So
They're great
and like I said, that's our paranormal family. I mean, Sheila's team, and we consider Ernie and Denise team and paranormal family, and that again, that goes back to that pair of unity
And support, great support. They're just wonderful. Ernie and Denise and the others, on the other paranormal teams, we really try to support everybody. So,
and it's just like with any family. I mean, you may hear some of us in a conversation and think we're going to kill each other.
yeah.
But we end up hugging it out at the end of the day, and everybody smiles.
Well, unless it's me and I just put them in chokeholds and call it a day.
Yeah, you're RKO mode.
Yeah, RKO. This team has a history of RKOs, belly to back suplexes, and a lot of takedowns.
And it's all involving me. So,
like I said, she's our fireball.
So, so what about you, Beth? What's some of your favorite places to go to? Do you have a favorite location?
Well, I've been quite a few, and I would have to say I didn't think I had found my favorite until Octagon Hall. First off, the home team for there is amazing, but the location, you get everything. Bigfoot, just UFOs, paranormal, the whole nine. And it's not a bad place at all. You can, it's not like one of those, oh, I'm so scared we can't go there, or I'm going to be scared all night. It's a great educational place to go for paranormal investigators. I recommend at any level. My other favorite would be Savannah, Georgia, which, they're not very fond of us down there. Because some other groups have went in and they damaged historical property or faked evidence or trespassed. So they kind of messed it up for all of us, but it's a beautiful, you can walk through there. I don't care where you're at. You can be buying a hot dog on a corner and there's a spirit standing next to you in Savannah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's got a lot of history there, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. What about you, Cindy? What do you have any favorite spots?
Yes, one of my favorite places would have to be Waverly. I've been there many, many times. Had tons of activity on every floor. Every time I've ever been, I love Waverly Hills. And another place would be, as far as with our group, would have been the Monroe House trip. That was one amazing investigation. I wish the rest of our team could have gone with us, and but it was quite amazing.
Well, and let's talk about that trip, because I know when we were talking before we went on the air, y'all mentioned that one, and you also mentioned Octagon Hall. So we'll talk about both of those. Talk about the Monroe location first. What was what made that such a special place to begin with?
Well, I'd have to say first, the van ride up was kind of amazing. So, being locked in a vehicle for 5 hours with all these people, it makes it a trip amazing.
Right.
But once we got there, and the nostalgia of the place, the history of the place, Cindy kind of went in blind and kind of did her walk
through. Yeah.
And the things that she was picking up on, and the other team that was with us that had been there before, was kind of in awe with what she was picking up.
Yeah, and also me and Cindy had a disembodied voice that only me and her heard in the upstairs bedroom. And so typically what we'll do is we will look at each other, and we will not want to say it, separate from each other. and I'll count to 3, and then me and her will say it at the same time. We heard exactly the very same thing at the same time. And we said it out loud, and it was a lady that told us, sit down. And
Oh, wow.
it was just strange. And no one else out of, how many we have, Cindy? It was like 6 people in the room. And
Yeah.
only me and her heard it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
That's pretty
We
weird.
did a few other experiments there. We did the Estes method. And in the process of asking questions, I asked one of the spirits to go over and tap Cindy on the shoulder. Yeah, she's kind of after me about that one, because when it come over to touch her on the shoulder, it kind of
It went over me like this and pulled its fingers up my face like that. So I ripped off the blindfold and the headphones and kind of went screaming out of the house.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that was one experience. I mean, the experiences in that house were countless, to say the least.
So who was that entity that did it? Did y'all know who it was, or?
No, it was
Okay.
just part of the house.
Okay.
They had the Sheilas had a new gadget there that night. It was a laser grid proximity meter, is the best way to describe it. And they had the other team had an SLS camera going, and there was like 8 of us in this really tight hallway. And when I refer to Cindy as the fireball, she gets very animated from time to time.
very.
And she was watching this SLS and watching this laser grid, and
Maybe.
and was there, and just hearing her playing this back in my head. I'm trying not to laugh because she's down at one end of the hallway. I'm at the other end of the hallway. It's mapping things out, and like Sheila said, that was great. But it's starting to map things out. So the SLS maps me out where I'm at, and then maps out another figure. I'm standing still, and the figure next to me is moving around. And the laser grid proximity meter is going off and giving the proximity of where this energy is, and everything's starting to line up.
Mhm.
And then, I don't know, the energy hits Cindy, and oh my, they're dancing. There was a few explicits in there, but they're dancing, and it was just, this went on for, felt like an hour, but I know it was just a matter of minutes. But I mean, it's that sort of energy that this team brings, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it was just extremely active that night too. It was one thing after another that night.
I mean, we even had activity outside the house.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of one of the points to where we were kind of taking a break. It had kind of been a heavy moment. Leanne and Cindy went outside to write down some questions for our next Estes method. So as they were writing the questions, they hear what sounded like something hiss. And they look up and they see a short shadow figure dart behind the cars and go behind the outbuilding. I go out there and look, and there was nobody around.
Yeah. We actually walk out there on the street because I told Cindy, I said, surely that was somebody. But it was such a strange figure that we saw. It did not look like a normal person.
Right.
So when we went out there to the road, there was absolutely nothing there. I mean, but we plainly seen it.
Right.
Plainly.
So do you think there's a difference between spirits and shadow people?
I'm sorry?
Do you think there's a difference between spirits and shadow people? Because I always hear that term too, shadow people.
Yes.
Okay,
I don't know that there's a real. I guess we all have different.
It depends on how they manifest, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, a manifestation difference.
Yeah, because like Amy Allen, the psychic, she talks about, the difference. Like they may just come across, but you'll know if it's truly like a bad shadow person. They typically torment children or people that are in weakened mental states and get them to do things they normally wouldn't do.
Okay.
Yeah, you asked if we thought that the shadow people were ghosts. I think I'm one of the ones in the group that uses ghost as a. I don't use the word ghost. I don't think. Maybe other than referring to what we do as ghost hunting.
Right.
A lot of the times you'll hear me refer to, I mean, even spirits as energy.
Okay.
The type of energy that we've got in this house, or the type of energy that we've got in this room. And they hit on it very well. It's how that energy decides to manifest itself, whether it be a shadow figure, whether it be a mist, or manifest itself in a full body apparition, or manifest by a disembodied voice, or manifest as just that energy ball that moves through the room that gives you that static charge. I mean, again, it all revolves around energies. Um, it's like energy never dies; it only changes state.
Right.
So, and we're all built of energy, all composed of energy.
And it just goes by the same thing that just because something manifests dark does not mean it is a dark entity or
Right.
presence.
Right.
It's just the
Right.
way it manifests. You could get something that manifests as white smoke and you're ending up on the floor because you've been thrown across a room.
Right. Yeah, well, like I said, before we actually went on there, I was telling you about the house I used to live in. I woke up one night and on the side of my bed there was, I had the window and I had about, I don't know, 3 feet of space right there where I could get up and walk. I woke up in the middle of the night and there was a figure standing right there. And it was a dark figure, and I just kicked at it, and of course I didn't hit it, but when I look back on it, it wasn't menacing. It wasn't aggressive. It was me that freaked out, and it disappeared, So that's a very good statement right there. Just because it's dark doesn't make it evil or anything like that. So yeah, and
I believe that spirits can manifest however they want to, because me and Leanne had an experience at a location. We had been there. We had been hearing conversations, people talking all day. Couldn't really figure out where it was coming from. So me and her decided to step off and walk down and see if we could figure out what was going on. We walked down there and we both saw a dark shadow figure form and come out of one of the rooms, and it went down and went into a cubby and then shot across the hall towards us, more like between us. And Leanne actually thought it was going to go through her. And I mean, she had quite the experience, and it was crazy. But we actually saw the shadow figure change from a shadow figure to a full mist apparition in the middle of the hallway.
Yeah.
So I believe they can manifest however they want us to see them.
Okay.
Yeah, it manifested dark, very dark. And then as it approached us, it changed into a fog, like a white mist, really.
Okay.
And just think for a moment, how we're in awe when we see these things, when we see the dark mist, or we see the shadows, or the white mist, or the orbs, or the energy signatures, how we're in awe. Think about what they're thinking, or what they're feeling when they see us, or how they see us,
how they perceive us. Yeah,
how they perceive us when we're coming into their area, or their realm.
Right.
And one of the things that I'm trying to study on and get a little more information on is the kind of that thin veil.
Right.
You hear the paranormal world right now, with the month that we're in, the veil is thinning, whether it has to do with the month, the time of year, or what, that everything is amped up a lot more. And some of these locations that we go to, a lot of the energies that are there are residual energies.
Mm-hmm.
It's things that are there that have always been there, and they're going through their daily routine. And the glimpses that we get are sometimes where our mind's eye or us as a whole kind of pass through that veil and get a peek at what they're seeing. But at the same time, when we pass through that veil, they get a peek at us. So I can only imagine, we're in awe over what we see, and we probably scare the hell out of them when we kind of show up.
Right.
I mean, and think about how the energy can be manipulated. For instance, Sheila Brown and I recently had an experience with, the pull-up lanterns.
Mm-hmm.
If you just pull them up. Well, we were sitting next to each other, and the lantern was on both of our legs in my hand. Out of nowhere, and we have it on audio, you hear the pop. It felt like it shattered in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like I could have lit up a room with all the energy that was on my hand. So think about all the different things they can manipulate, different ways, things we've not even thought of.
Right.
Ernie just made a comment on there about, how shadows peek around the corners. Or we catch them, off in the corners or peeking through windows or openings or through doors. And that kind of one of those things that they're curious as to what we're doing. They're wondering why we're there, just like we're wondering why they're there.
Right.
And, every once in a while you get that holy grail moment to where it's going to show you what it's all about.
Right.
And, that's I guess that's what we're all in it for, is that type of moment.
Okay. Well, that was going to be another one of my questions to you guys is, why do you do this? And we'll start with Beth. Why, what's the deal with you? Why are you doing this? What do you want to do?
I want to, shed some light on the paranormal field for Sheila Brown. No, I really want to help the next generation of paranormal investigators be safe, for one. Number two, I just really want to bring skeptics to the table and let them know, hey, this is not a game. This is not, I'm not saying everybody's sane. Lord knows I'm not wrapped too tight, but you can't deny that things happen. Just because you can't explain why they happened doesn't mean they didn't. I want to help people. I've done residential cases. I've done commercial cases. I've done them all. But, I'm also one that if it's not something I can fix, I know somebody who can.
Right.
I don't want to be the one person that brings it out like, hey, this is my friend George. George was actually alive in 1768. Can't you see him? I don't want to do that. I just want to help people and make them not be afraid. Because there's children out there that need, let me not just limit that to children. There's people of all age that could be having experiences that they don't understand.
Right.
They think they're crazy, or other people think they're crazy when they're not. I think we all can agree we want to be people that are able to help them.
So what would you say to those people who are having issues and they don't have anywhere to turn to? What advice would you give them?
I would tell them to make sure that they reach out to people like us, but make sure they're reputable people. I think they should, stay strong within their faith. If they can find a leader in their community that is willing to help, we all know not all religions like to get involved. Find a person you can trust. Seek out someone reputable and trustworthy in the field. And because there's people like us that want to help them.
Cindy, what about you? What is your end game?
For me, it's a lot about education. It's about teaching people how to do what we do correctly, teaching people how to be safe, how to protect themselves if they go out. And not only that, I have a curious love for the dark side of the paranormal. actually have a podcast, Dark Side Live, where I give people a platform to talk about dark negative attacks and attachments and things like that, because it does happen in our world. And I like for people to understand that it's okay if something like that happens, and put a platform out there for people to be able to reach out to someone who can help them in that kind of aspect. And but it's a lot for me about education, teaching people about history, and knowing that they're not crazy. The experiences they have, other people have, and I mean, I think everybody in the paranormal world is looking for evidence. We all have that as our end game. I mean, or we wouldn't be in it. That's why we do what we do, is for evidence to prove that the other side exists, and that you can reach out and talk to them, and they talk to us and communicate. So for me, it's about education and being able to do what we do safely in that kind of aspect.
And Tom, Leanne, I'm gonna ask you the same question, but I'm gonna ask you, what is your end game, and what kind of advice would you give like newcomers?
The end game for me is happy wife, happy life.
Okay.
No, no. I mean,
Yes.
Well, he got some brownie points there, didn't he?
Yeah.
but I mean, for us, it's all in the same. Getting it out there. Doing things the right way. Working together as a community. I mean, there's so many vast and different possibilities in the paranormal realm, and it broadens out into the cryptics and into the ufology, and all of these people that can work together. And there may be something that you do while you're out, experiencing your squatching. That's something that we can use in the paranormal world when we're out doing our spirit investigations or our energy investigations.
Right.
That cross connection between that's kind of one of the things that I'd like to see a lot more of. I'd like to promote a lot more of that. Like I said, our team had the pleasure of linking up with Pac-Man Paranormal and going out into the Kentucky forest and hunting with Squatch Man. That was just a great thing.
Very educational. We
Yeah, very
learned
educational.
a lot of stuff from him.
Yes.
Kind of the things that he has seen. Like you were talking about, like the energy balls that were out in, the woods,
Right.
stuff like that he's seen that just kind of piques our interest, trying to figure out what that is,
And this is one of those things too, and Ernie kind of hit on it too. A lot of us do this as part of being history buffs and want the true history on what's going on. And he just corrected me. That was the Indiana forest.
Yeah.
But we always talk about helping the living. I guess there's a call out there too for us to help the deceased or the dead, and
Because they need their stories told.
Right.
yeah, they need their stories told. They need understanding of what's going on. They need understanding that they don't have to stay here, that it's okay for them to move on. It's just, I mean, it's those unanswered questions that we got to try to find in how we can relate what we do in the paranormal back to helping mankind. I mean, the living and the dead.
Yeah. And I think we can agree that Ernie and Denise from Pac-Man Paranormal, they are doing exactly that. Joe, if you ever get a chance to talk to them, I highly recommend you do. They have a beautiful love story that's involved in it, and they have helped correct the story for a spirit and brought her some peace. And it's a beautiful thing.
and they're absolutely beautiful people. I mean,
Yes.
Yes.
the energy with those two. I mean, we as a team were blessed to meet those two and have those guys brought into our lives, along with all the other people in our paranormal family. I mean, the list is so long to mention. I mean, Doogie, he is kind of been one of the ones that we followed for a number of years. Real genuine guy. I mean, you can't beat him. And just all these people in the paranormal, like I said, it's not a competition. I mean, we're all striving for the same goal.
No one is an expert. No one.
No.
Yeah. So
I mean, we've got great mentors. You just have to look for them. One of mine just happens to be John Zappis. John Zappis, Lorraine Horn. Those were the people that started it for me.
Yeah.
and none of us are looking to get famous in this or to make a buck in this.
No.
We're in this to, like I said, help people where we can, help people understand where we can help people understand. If we can't help you as a team, we do know people that we can put you in contact with that can help you out. And if they can't help you, I mean, that network keeps going up. So.
Yeah.
So, like, what advice would you guys give, like, for newcomers, people who want to get involved in this, and
Well, people getting involved, don't go alone. Always have a buddy system.
No.
Don't go anywhere alone, whether you're doing houses, buildings,
Cemetery,
graveyard.
it doesn't matter.
Definitely go in open-minded,
And do not, number one rule.
Yeah.
Don't
Number
trust
one rule, do not trespass. Always make sure you have permission to be in these locations.
Yeah.
Do not break and enter, because you will get prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And you take a big chance in some of these locations that some of these owners will take the law into their own hands.
right?
So don't trespass. Make sure you've got permission. Go with a buddy
And
system.
research.
yes.
Yeah, that will make a huge difference.
Yes.
Again,
Research.
buddy
If you
system.
don't know,
Yes.
don't guess.
Reach out to a paranormal team. Yeah. Reach out to a local paranormal team and ask them if you can join them. I mean,
Yes.
you never know.
Yeah. Worst they can say is no, right? Yeah.
Right.
As far as equipment goes, the best piece of equipment that you'd have is yourself and a voice recorder.
You have to trust your body. Your senses are your most important tools.
And Denise just hit on one perfect. Be very respectful when you do this to both the living and the dead, the property, and everyone around.
Yeah, don't go in provoking, trying to, come in and be mean to spirits, and provoke them. Go in like it would be just a normal person, and that's who they are. They're just no longer alive, but they're normal people, and just go in and just have a conversation with them because they're just trying to get their story out. So,
and for the love of God, Beth 3:16 says, please do not go stepping on people's graves if you're going in a cemetery. I can't stand it, and it's disrespectful. I just be respectful. Would you want someone traipsing all over your loved one? Would you want somebody defacing your headstone? Just keep it respectful.
And again, I'm glad Ernie's on here because he's hitting on some great topics. The paranormal is real. Bigfoot is real. Ufology is real. But the world today is conditioned, and I mean, even as we were brought up, we were conditioned not to believe in these things. These things were a farce. And you're gonna, as being part of the paranormal community or any of the three, you're gonna have the naysayers and the people that are gonna put you down and think you're crazy. You just got to get past all that. And if you've got a passion for this, move on with it. You'll be surprised what you'll find out there.
Let me ask you guys this: and Todd and Leanne, you guys can start off. Um, were you guys always open about this, or did it just you just slowly but surely let it out? Because like for me, I didn't necessarily broadcast it, but people kind of found out on their own, and now everyone knows, which is fine with me. But like I said, I didn't necessarily broadcast it. I just kind of let it come out on its own.
Yeah, I think for me, it never bothered me that anyone knew that I was interested in this. I always, from childhood, I've always been interested in this. For Todd, I think he was interested in it, but with me, I brought him into that world a little more, and he's learned a whole lot.
Yeah, that goes back to the happy wife, happy life thing. And I got a bonus out of it. Well, it's actually something that I enjoy.
Todd is like a pro at this. Really, he does. He seems like he's been doing it a long time.
Never been. I think we've always been very open about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I say anything anyway.
My opinion is stand up for what you believe in, even if you stand alone. I don't care what anybody else thinks. This is my life. These are my experiences, and I'm going to share them. I don't care if you believe me. I know what I've seen and what I've experienced, what I've seen and experienced with my team, other people. I mean, and that's just what it do. I'm going to stand for what I believe in, even if I have to stand alone.
Yeah. And now that I talk about it openly, and I have decals on my truck. I have a friend of mine. He's got a big truck. If you guys ever see it, it's called the Yeti. It's a big black and white Dodge. We were at a grocery store one day, and the cashier told me, "Hey, I have a Bigfoot experience," and she told me her Bigfoot story. So I think you got to put yourself out there, and people will open up to you also. So that's one reason why I never really kept myself in the shell. I just I didn't care who knew.
Yeah, that's another thing you kind of hit on. You talk about what advice I would give to newcomers. There are a multitude of locations out there that do public events,
right,
that have home teams that show people how to do these investigations. I would recommend going to one of these events, seeing how they run their events, and experiencing those locations, and then kind of get into the doing your own private investigations, or hooking up with other teams to do private investigations, and just seeing if it's something that you're interested in, and just be selective on where you go. Make sure they're a good, reputable place to go, and go check those guys out too.
You know what? That's a good point when you say to see if it's something that they're interested in, like actually investigating. Because it's one thing to be interested in the subject; it's nothing to be interested in actually investigating. Because I found out last night, this is tiring stuff. This will wear you out. Yeah. Man, dude, I'm still dragging from last night.
Yeah,
I didn't get hardly any sleep. I drove 5 hours to get there, 5 hours back. So it's like I'm dragging right now. So yeah, you're right. If you're gonna get involved in this, you got to be ready for it, because
we were.
This is just one investigation for me.
Yeah, we investigated last night ourselves, and we're dragging today too.
Yeah. And people see all the stuff on TV, and they see everything happen in a matter of time, and it's. What they don't take into account is those shows are shot over multiple days.
Right.
To get that 1 hour clip or that 30-minute clip of all of this activity going on. And that, like I said, that's a week investigation drawn down into an hour. I know we've been on multiple locations, multiple times, and had absolutely nothing.
Right.
Where we've sat in a dark room and stared in a corner trying to figure out if it's a shadow or if it's a light refracting off of Mars or whatever.
Yeah.
But
swamp gas.
Yeah, swamp gas. And and paranormal is not does not have an on-off switch. And I'm gonna say it, I hate it, but it's not a Scooby-Doo moment. paranormal is gonna happen when it happens.
Right.
You can't force it. You could go into a
See,
location.
that's what I like about going Bigfooting,
Something
because
I don't.
worst case scenario, a scenario for me, I'm just out camping. So
Absolutely.
There you go.
I mean,
There you go.
it's just it's an overnight camping trip, and you're hunting, and you may be inside a building.
there you go. So one point I wanted us to talk about too was you talked about UFOs, cryptids, and the paranormal. Some places seem to have all three of these of what I call the big three. There's other stuff, but these are the big three. Why do you think that is?
I think it has a lot to do with the grids, the way things line up. I think it has to do with the population. When you get all three areas, it's usually in a sparse population, or just outside of a major city to where there's not a whole lot of people. Like, for instance, Octagon Hall is on the 32nd parallel. That particular location, you have all three. I mean, you have
Bigfoot sightings, you've got UFOs, you've got spirits, paranormal activity. There's a lot of Indians, the land, there's a lot of stuff that happened on the land. So it's just a whole combination of stuff there. And it's just a really cool place.
It kind of goes to one of those things, talking about energies again. You take into account that some of these locations, especially the historical locations that we go to that have battlefields and, wars, or even the battleships that people go and investigate. We talk about energies, and we really only talk about the energy that, each of us carry. But you think about a battlefield, and you've got, for instance, where we were at last night, they had over 5,000 people killed in a matter of hours.
Right.
So you think all of that personal energy, and then you think of all the energy from all the weapons going off, all of the energy from the trees and everything that was hit and absorbed by all the weapons going off. And how much energy those places actually hold, and probably still hold today.
Right. You know what? It's funny you say that, because I know I've seen when people use, I don't know what you guys call the spirit box or whatever, but I know people have heard like gunshots come off through there. And I forgot which battleground that was, where you can see the cannon fire. You can see the flash. And, the cannon's not there anymore, but you can still see the flash, Yeah.
They actually had an EVP.
Was that Gettysburg?
I want to say it was Gettysburg, but I really didn't even put it together right now until Todd said it. Yeah.
Yeah, they actually got an EVP last night of drums, the cadence.
Yeah.
Sheila's, one of the places that they go close to their hometown. They call it their honey hole. And if I butcher this, Sheila, let me know. Her and Paul Sheila were walking through an area at this place, and we're just running their recorder. And as they're going through, you can hear them talking and carrying on, having a good time. And then all of a sudden, on the recording, you hear 3 pops. A low caliber weapon was fired. Now, again, Sheila's an ex-Marine, and I believe in my heart that if she heard gunfire that loud, she would react.
Right.
On the recording, they just continued their conversation as they moved along. When they went and played back the recorder and heard the shots, they went and did some research, and they found out that particular portion of the property was, I believe, what they referred to as a red light district for that particular town. And there was a sheriff's deputy that was caught in a ambush and was shot 3 times.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's crazy.
I
just comment, not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but Cindy, you've lived there, so you know. Fort Hood being Native American land and there still being burial land, that could be contribute to a lot of the stuff that's been going on at Fort Hood. I mean,
Got negative energy.
I also agree.
yeah.
And I would like to collaborate on the whole big three thing. I think that all of those, the three, cross over. And when we're seeing what we think is maybe UFO, Bigfoot, paranormal, I think it could vary and be either one. I actually got a picture of a shadow person from Moundsville Penitentiary. And I showed it to Squatch Man, and he said, Cindy, he said, that's not a shadow person. That's a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
You can actually see the hair in the picture.
I agree.
And I didn't realize because I had never delved into that world. And we've been at locations and seen the predator-like, the cloaking, and look like a predator. And it was
it's a matrix
that haunted location. So I believe all of the three kind of cross over and combine.
Okay.
So we're seeing the three, and we don't really know what we're seeing, but they all combine and grow from each other.
Yeah.
Well, I usually like to keep these things about an hour long. We went a little bit over, but that's fine with me. I think we could probably do like a 3-hour show really with you guys, But before I let you guys go, man, you guys got anything to say? Todd, Leanne, anything you want to add, or contact information, anything you got coming up, anything you want to promote?
I'll let Cindy and Beth handle that. So, actually, Leanne, Cindy, and Beth run our web page and our Facebook page. So, I'll let them handle all the particulars.
Cindy, you go ahead.
On Facebook, we are the Black Wolf Paranormal. We have a web page, theblackwolfparanormal.com. And we have events coming up at Octagon Hall. I believe it is sold out. We have Rosemont the 24th of October. And
of course she locks up on this.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, I'll throw this part in. Cindy has a show for the Black Wolf Paranormal. It's the Dark Side of the Black Wolf. It's Friday nights. It's on Parahouse TV. There's also a pre-recorded show that's coming out soon. So you can check us out there. We're always available for questions. Any of us will answer if anyone wants to send a question. Cindy has a lot of guests coming up soon, which she'll be talking about that on Facebook, I'm sure. I also have a show. It's called The Wicked Woman Show. It's on Parahouse TV. My wicked sisters here, Leanne and Cindy, co-host that show with me.
This show that she's talking about, the Wicked Women Show, it is something that the paranormal community has needed for a long time. She has got a platform that's going to, bring out some of the best paranormal investigators in the field, and they all happen to be women. You always hear of all the guys groups, the boys clubs and whatnot. Right. And it's very unique and very interesting to hear, Beth's view on the whole situation, and some of the women, some of the powerful women that she gets on this show is amazing. So please tune into that show. Tune into Cindy's show, The Dark Side of the Dark Side of Black Wolf. I'll get that out one day. But I mean, and these two women are actually, these three women that are on the screen right now are very powerful women in the paranormal, and I just enjoy sitting back and watching them.
Cool.
Thank you.
I just beat people up. Thank you. I just beat people up.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough, man. You guys, you're a great bunch of people. I can tell that already. I want to go out with you guys sometime.
We'd love to have you.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, you guys seem like a lot of fun to go out with. I'd love to have you guys back on again sometime, and we can talk about Cindy's show and the Wicked Women show too. Man, I'd like to hear more about that. Definitely.
Well, I hope to
Anything
catch
else,
you
guys?
out that way, Joe, when I make it to Texas.
Oh
I'm coming
yeah,
to
yeah.
see
When
you.
you come out this way, definitely. And Beth, weren't you talking to me one time about actually like helping people like develop abilities also, or something like that?
That's something we're going to be working on.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Helping
I didn't want to spill any
people,
beans. Hope I didn't spill the beans there, but yeah. I didn't know if you wanted me
Sorry,
to talk about
I
that.
think I'm having internet issues.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll go ahead. Go ahead,
One
Todd.
last thing, I want to give a shout out to our entire team. Sorry, the ones that couldn't be here today and be on and be a part of this group. They're very, very important to us. The Sheilas, Stephen, Chip, Zachary Eskew, Haley, Nikki, and the whole gamut. I mean, we wouldn't be the Black Wolf Paranormal without each and every one of these guys.
Well, they certainly
And
showed
Joe,
up in the chat room, and I
Thank you
appreciate
so much.
all the activity in the chat room. You guys did a great job. Yeah, thank you guys too again. One last time, and that's it for the show, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. You guys hold on real quick out in the broadcast.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Everyone have a good day.
Thank y'all.